name is Alex, and I would like to welcome you to the first episode of the Mapping Charts podcast. This is going to be a podcast about knitting and my adventures along the way. I would first like to say I give so much credit to anybody who does a podcast, whether it's audio or video. This is a lot harder than it looks, folks. This is probably take number 80 because I've either flubbed up a word or I've hesitated about what to talk about, which is really funny because the topic here is yarn. So it's pretty streamlined, and yet I just get lost, and then I'm just being like, okay, well, we got to start over. But it gets easier with each take, which is good. But a little bit about me for those who may not know. I am taping from the fabulous Sixborough, Hoboken, New Jersey. I absolutely love living here. This is my second year living in the New York City metro area, and I never thought that I would ever find myself here. But that's the crazy thing about life, and especially when your graduate school is based in the area. There's ways for you to find yourself here. I'm originally from upstate New York in Sullivan County, and I went to college at Hartwick for 2 years. I studied pre-medicine there at first, but then I found out that pre-med wasn't for me. I felt that in 2006, I wanted to get into politics. And so I transferred to SUNY Oneonta because it had a better political science program. And I also picked up a philosophy major as well. So I ended up graduating with a political science and philosophy degree. And I'm happy to say, through some sort of stroke of luck, I was able to have a political career for a couple of years. I worked up and down the East Coast, all the way from 10 minutes from Canada to the Space Coast of Florida, working on political campaigns. But I had to, as much as I absolutely enjoyed my time doing it, and I'm so glad that I did it, it does require you to put in a lot of man hours, and you pretty much don't see your family or any loved one at all, for the time that you're on campaign. When I was campaigning in Florida, I was down there from March 2012 until November 2012, and I pretty much said goodbye to my mom, and my dad on, I think, on St. Patrick's Day 2012, and I did not see them until probably something around like November 20th, because you have to be that focused and that committed to the job. And because of that, and after living in cities for a little bit, I found that I absolutely loved public transportation. Growing up in rural upstate New York, it we lived and died by the car, and the fact that people could ride subways and buses, just really, or use bike share, and cities that have bike lanes. It's something that we take for granted here, but so many towns and municipalities and big cities don't have the infrastructure. So since I absolutely enjoyed it, I was like, well, why don't we just make a career out of this? So I ended up attending Rutgers University at Newark and got my master's in public administration. And then I ended up interning with the agency that I now work for. So it all somehow got into place, and I'm happy that it did. And I am a little bit of a transit geek, and that will probably show up every now and then. But hey, we're here to talk about yarn. So I got into knitting my freshman year of college at Hartwick. I was really surprised because the first couple of weeks I found out that every girl on the third floor of Van Ness knew how to knit, and I did not. And I have always been fascinated by knitting. I remember going to the local general store in Roscoe, New York, and I found this knitting mushroom. And I was like, yeah, when I think I was probably like 10 years old at the time, and I was so excited because I thought that this was going to be my gateway drug to knitting, and I would be turning out sweaters when really the knitting mushroom only produced like these tubular uh, these they're I'm these I don't know how to really describe it. They were just like these little tube things is a descriptive word, so we'll go with that, of stockinette, and I was just like, I don't really know what to do with this. So my grandma, she knew how to knit, but for some reason we never were able to learn together. But she did teach me how to sew, and which is has proven to be very helpful because I'm only 5'2", so I am able to hem a lot of my dress pants and dresses because of her. So I got into, I made the ask of how can I learn knitting when I saw that my then roommate, she was knitting a scarf for her boyfriend. And her mother was from Denmark, so she's been knitting ever since she was little. And her mother made her the most gorgeous knitted mittens. They had this amazing color work, and I think the interior had like this gorgeous leatherish bounding. And I was like, Charlotta, can you teach me how to knit? And bless her soul, because it was quite the endeavor. I am not very known for my coordination, and not only am I very uncoordinated, but I'm also very type A as well when it comes to learning a new skill or writing a paper or anything scholastic. So I get very easily frustrated when things aren't going my way. Even though I'm very laid back in social situations, I guess I go to extremes on that point. Um, yeah, the first couple of results were an absolute nightmare. One time, first off, I went to Walmart, and it was an absolute mistake. I ended up picking a this purple, and oh, anybody who knows me, I just dropped the word. I'm known for wearing a ton of purple, and it's completely by accident. I just really enjoy the color, but my closet literally looks like Marie from Breaking Bad, that she and I swap things every once in a while. But I think that's a topic for another podcast, because I would like to talk about, what colors are we drawn to, and if, our closets and whatnot are taken over by that little obsession. But anyway, going back, my yarn choice was not ideal. It was this Lion Brand homespun skein, and not that there's anything wrong with that. It was just very kinky and very irregular with the strands. So like when you're learning how to, you couldn't see even now, unless you know what you're doing, you can't. When you're a beginner, you don't really you can't see the anatomy of your knit stitch. And to be quite honest, I don't even know what I was doing, because it was like this Franken knit, um, because like I said, I was pre-med at the time, so my concentration wasn't solely on knitting. It was school, and is this the right major for me, which it turned out not to be, and getting socially adapted to what college is like. And here's this little scarf that I feel that I am insulting and not giving it, living, making it live up to its integrity. um, so it was really funny. One time, Charlotta's mom, my roommate's mother, she came over to visit us, and she looks at my attempt, and she just very very nicely says, "Oh, well, that's new," and but they thanks to Charlotta, she taught me how, and I ended up changing yarn, and I ended up going for this sport. So this, I think it was like a sport weight neon green uh, skein. I again got at Walmart, and I had got made my first little scarf over winter 2005, which is almost 10 years ago. That's just absolutely nuts. But yeah, no, I've been knitting on and off since then. It's been a skill that's always been with me. But now, since now the campaigns are done, now that grad school's done, I have the time to devote to it. And it's so relaxing because this is my first, I mean, I commuted via public transit when I was an intern in DC, but I I don't know why. I could think it was just because it was just so hot and I was so poor. I was an unpaid intern, so wasn't really much of a budget for me to go and spend money on yarn. It was more so, hey, can we go to Trader Joe's and spend under 30 bucks? So and have that last for the week. So I was more of a reader, and I'm still a reader. I knit and I read my Kindle while I commute. And it's just so relaxing. I absolutely love it. And now that I have the income, thank you, grad school, to spend on yarn, yeah, no, I've just been really going with it. And this winter has been so brutally cold that it's just up to, just very opportune to knit something warm. I knit this from, it's just a plain infinity scarf. I know that the webcam isn't the greatest when it comes to colors. Hopefully I'll get a nicer one soon. But this is Koigu PPM, again, the purple thing. Actually, it was really funny. A couple of months ago, I was meeting up with a friend. We were going to be watching hockey in the city, and I was wearing a pair of purple tights, and my back was turned. I was watching the TV, and he just goes, one day I am going to come up to a girl with purple tights, and it's not going to be you, and I feel like I'm going to be slapped in the face. So yeah, and that's a testament. I wear so much purple that people just pick me out that way. So, and the funny thing is, my favorite color is actually green. Again, don't know why I'm so drawn to it with my wardrobe, but that's the case. But yeah, so there's this deep purple right over here, and then there's like this multicolor of like pinks and some blues and purple. And then there is this lovely little mauve color that's not really showing up so well, but you will have to take my word for it. It's very warm. I'm also a cyclist, and merino wool is a cyclist's best friend because it wicks away sweat. I know that sounds so glamorous, but it's really the best, especially while riding city bike in the winter. It's always kept me warm and not gross. So yay, Koigu. Um, let's see. I also made this, and I just want to give a shout out to Patricia from Patricia's Yarns. She is my local yarn shop in Hoboken, and she is the one who enables my addiction. Like I forgot why I was in. I was making a hat. I was trying to get some materials to make a hat, and I saw this amazing big ball of yarn, and I don't know if you can see it, but you can see some glitter, and you can see like big strand. Let's be real here. I don't know wool as much as I should. But you see like these little big, but like I said before in this podcast, things is a perfect word to describe what you don't know. So we're just gonna roll with it. There was like these like big little chunks of yarn, and I was so attracted by it, and I found out that this is some knit collage. And the best thing about knit collage is that originally this was going to be a hat. And I was just really psyched because it's really warm. I recently cut my hair into a pixie cut in December, which is another story in and of itself. I could do a whole episode about why getting a pixie cut in the winter is not the smartest idea, especially when you've had hair down to your shoulders your whole life. So I was really looking for something that was super warm, and I thought that this fit the bill. However, this also makes me look like I am a one of the very early presidents. it looks, I was just like, I'm not too sure about this, guys. I think it's going to end up being a cowl. And it is a fabulous cowl. What I would do on really cold days, and let's hope that we don't see any of those for a while. I would double up on the Koigu and the knit collage, and I would be really warm. So, yay, knit collage! If you can find it, I highly suggest making a cowl with it. Patricia's Yarns, she has a pattern for how to make a cowl in knit collage, which I will post in the show notes because Patricia's awesome and I love supporting her. And if you want to support her, I definitely want to give you that opportunity. Um, let's see. Another object that I knitted over the winter was something that I wasn't exactly the happiest with the results. This was supposed to be like a waffly knit hat again. Oh, I wonder what color it's going to be. It's purple. Again, so bad. So I found like this waffly knit pattern off of the Pickles website, which again I will post in the show notes. And I thought, that's going to be my hat. It's going to cover my ears fantastically, and it's going to be great. So I went to Patricia, and she recommended Manos del Uruguay Maxima. And while I don't know the specific colorway, it's a very deep plum, and I didn't get the chance to post it to Ravelry because as I was just kind of like about the outcome. But I also have some Rowan Kids Silk Haze with, you can see little sequins, so it's a lot of fun. But here was my problem with it. Again, it covers the ears, which is awesome, but the I forget how many. I followed the pattern exactly, and like I said, it's been a while. This is actually like the first time I've seriously concentrated on knitting. So I did not think about measuring my head to gauge like how many stitches to cast on. I just thought, okay, well, if that pattern is telling me to cast on this many, then that's what we're going to do. But as you see, it should be really like something smaller. I wanted it more something like a beanie, because it just kind of felt a little awkward. And yep, see, there's some awkwardness right there. It's like not really shaped. And it would just be, I don't know, I was just not happy with it. And life's too short not to be happy with your knitting, especially when you spent some good chunk of change on your yarn. So my goal of that was to frog it. I will, and to those who are not, you don't know, if you don't know what knitting terms are, and I agree, we have a way of saying things, but frogging basically means that you rip the project apart, and it's almost like you're doing like a rip it, which is what a frog says. So that's why we call it frogging. So I will probably take this apart and make it a beanie because it's gorgeous. It's so soft and so thick, and it's really warm on cold days. And there's no way that this is just going to be an MIA in my stash bag. So you will be something more, I promise you. All right. Let's see. What else have I been up to? Well, let's see. I'm going to be going to San Francisco in a week and a half with my old college roommate. Her name is Sarah, and she's one of the most awesome people that I know. And I was going to make us friendship cowls. I found this really cool pattern. It's called a tricolor cowl from Imaginits, and oddly enough, I wasn't intending on it be like I wasn't searching on Ravelry for a San Francisco pattern, but I just saw this really, I just saw like the main photo and like, oh my god, this is so cool. But anyway, as you can see, it's really produces this really cool tricolor. And because Zara lives in Colorado and she moved to Colorado to snowboard, and she is so she as crazy I am about transit, she is about snowboarding. um, so I know that she will be getting a lot of use out of this, but it takes forever to knit. But it's cool though. Like I don't mind doing it because I love making things for other people. The pattern is so cool. Like I will eventually the plan was for us to wear matching cowls and go to Imaginits in San Francisco and just say, hey, look, we used your pattern again by accident because I didn't even know that your shop was based here until I looked at the Ravelry page and everything. And yeah, no, it was crazy. So, but yeah, no, I will probably finish this in time for our trip. We're leaving March 25th, so I'm pretty sure like this is again Monastery Uruguay Maxima, which is 100% merino. It's very squishy, and this cowl is so thick, and it's going to be perfect for her to go down the slopes or the hills. I've never snowboarded before, so I don't know the exact lingo. But yeah, no, it's really cool. So we'll be like that. This is oh yeah. Ah. So there we go. Another work in progress is I thanks to Kristen from Yarngasm, who is so awesome. I always look forward to watching her podcast every week, and I actually bought some Bullenvine yarns today in the Reflector colorway. I'm a huge Arcade Fire fan, and when I saw her vanilla sock pattern, it's a favorite sock pattern. Again, I will post in the show notes. I saw that she had dyed up a reflector skein last year, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to have that because the way that she dyed it up, it's so reflector. If you purchased Arcade Fire's Reflector album, like it's just she got it. And I'm all showed off next week. But anyway, she and within one of her podcasts, she mentioned that she was listening to a podcast called Stitched in Sweden, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm always on the hunt for a new knitting podcast, so I highly recommend that you watch it because Maria is so delightful, and she came out with this hat pattern called Soldier Mom. I'm probably murdering the word, but I have never done color work before, and I was just so amazed when I saw her first debut it on the podcast. I'm like, oh my god, how did she make that? And to tell you the truth, this is actually a very easy knit. This is very potato chippy. Yeah, again, another like thing. It's another term we knitters use. It's like very simple to memorize, so you can just kind of like knit on the fly without even thinking about it. If you just like follow the pattern, like it's just very easy. Like for example, like with these like little cobblestones, like it's just basically okay, I knit one and then with the oatmeal color, and then I knit the other with the gray color. um, so it's very it's a cool pattern. Again, you have show notes, but you're still hesitating on what to talk about. But I promise I will get more used to how this thing goes, everybody. This I'm using yarn I purchased from La Casita, which is a yarn store, cafe and bar in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn. It's I adore Carroll Gardens, and when I was looking for the best yarn stores in New York City, I just typed that into Google, and I found La Casita was mentioned, I think, in CBS Locals list. And when I found out that it was a yarn shop and it served coffee and alcohol, I'm just like, this is the shop of my dreams. And they're all so nice. The what I am making this out of, this is the oatmealish color. Again, apologize for the camera quality, but the oatmealish color is from Dunn Roving Yarns. It's their Frolicking Feet. line, and it's khaki knits, which is superwash merino. And I, at first I wasn't really, I was looking for a background color. I just a nice light contrasting color. And at first, like I wasn't really exactly like wowed by it, but it knits up so nicely. And I'm really, and as you can see, I'm almost done with the hat. And I have about how many yards? I have 480 yards of this. So I plan to make some awesome socks. Because I want to see, if the Frolicking Feet label lives up to its name, and I'm really, really pumped for that. So, yay, socks. And the contrasting color of this hat is a Madeline Tosh. Oh gosh, Merino Light, yes. Merino Light in the El Greco colorway. It is so, 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 so soft. I have been wanting to get Madeline Tosh yarn forever, but I've just been waiting for the project that called for it. And, this project called for um, um, fingering weight yarn. And originally, I did not originally there was going to be another colorway, and I don't even know what was going through my head. I think we all know how it goes. You enter a yarn shop, you get like, I don't know, like you just get like, you're like, oh my gosh, like you going kind of, at least I go a little bit crazy when I'm like, oh, look at all these colorways and stuff like that, and I can just be like, so like, I have my blinders on, like I have to knit it in this color, and because it's going to be awesome. And then you get home and you're just like, wait a minute, what was I thinking? Because the two of these together, yeah, they could work, but I just wasn't sold on the idea. This is Koigu PPPM, and I have the tag around here. Yep, it's Koigu K PPPM in die code P940 and die lat 20. And it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to knitting something with it because it's absolutely gorgeous and perfect for St. Patrick's Day. But it just wasn't going to work with this hat. So I went to Patricia's Yarns in Hoboken, and I said, Patricia, help me here. I need to figure out what is going to contrast well with this gorgeous oatmeal color. And she got, the tangled up in yarn. It's almost like you're a cat. And she was just like, well, why don't you do Madeline Tosh? And for those who, I know that, knitting can be a little expensive, and and again, for another while, like, reason why I was like kind of holding off on purchasing Madeline Tosh was because even though the colorways were so beautiful, you're just like, wait a minute, am I really spending $24 on a skein of yarn? And I have to say, Madeline Tosh is totally worth it. I think I have like 400 yards of yarn, and I'm just like, wow, I can use this for so many things. I don't think I would ever use this for socks because it's such a delicate yarn. But I think what this would go really well with is a shawl or a cardigan. And it's just so gorgeous. I just love any like ink dye, like colors. So it's just, I don't know. I really adore it. How she makes it so soft is a mystery to me. But yay! So I hope to finish this by this weekend because it's just such a really cool hat, and I will post the pattern in the show notes. And I definitely highly encourage you to knit it. It's just so awesome. And even though I'm so happy that spring is coming, I'm just hoping that I at least get a couple of chances to wear this. So let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, no, after I received my reflector skein from Kristen from Full and Vine, I am putting myself on a yarn diet because there's so much in my stash right now. And originally I was going to do like a whole like like this whole like journey into my stash, but as I see that's probably should not happen because it's just going to be like we're going into the abyss. But okay, so like another project I'm working on, one of my colleagues, she's beginning to learn how to knit, and she's going to Chelsea Yarns, which is in Central Jersey, and she's been loving the classes that she's been taking there. But in the meantime, while she's like learning the basics, she asked me to knit a shawl for her, and it's the road trip shawl. I I think I'm gonna end up frogging this and redoing it just because I can see that I knit a little bit too tightly. And I just probably I was just it is a little bit of a I don't know, it is a little bit of a tricky pattern. So I am going to just see if I can do this a little bit better. Actually intending to knit this on my flight to San Francisco. Um, to and from, and hopefully by the end of my trip, Christine can have a lovely shawl. I don't know what kind of yarn this is. I do know it was purchased at Chelsea Yarns. I do know that I think it might be superwash merino. I'm not sure, but it's just so much fun. I love it's just really cool. I've never knitted a shawl before, so I'm really excited that the first shawl I knit is going to be for her. Um, yeah, no, and another I guess like a casualty of this winter, I was talking with my roommate, and we were like talking about the fact that we both intended on knitting leg warmers this winter, and it never happened. Well, another thing that never happened was my mitten. I got it's a the seed stitch pattern from Purl Soho, and the yarn is a Shibui knits. Let's see, it is baby alpaca. It's in the raspberry color, and so soft, so soft. I absolutely adore this mitten. But the truth was that I was almost this is mitten take two. I was almost done with said I finished said mitten, only to realize measuring. I will be a better measurer from now on because I do eventually want to graduate to sweaters and cardigans, and I know for a fact that if you don't measure, it's not going to fit. So when I saw that, I made the mistake of looking. I have really tiny hands. So when I saw Purl Soho's pattern, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to knit the smallest hand size because that's going to be perfect for me. But I realized that when you're constructing a mitten, um, it's I forgot the fact that I would probably want a little bit of room for my hands to move a little bit. And the first one I knit was I mean, it fit, but it was so tight. And I was just like, no, this thing needs to be a little bit larger. And I also put a little bit of a rib. I don't know why my rib is kind of twisty and turny or something like that. But to tell you the truth, when it comes to my first mitten, I can care less about the aesthetics of it all. It's as long as it's warm is really all I care about. And it's my first one, so it's not going to be exactly perfect. I think what I'll probably end up doing, because it is a little bit larger and I would like it to be, is that I think I will put a little bit of lining into this just to make sure it can be a little bit toasty, but it's so soft. Seriously, Shibui Diz. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing their name right, so if I'm not, please correct me. But yeah, no, this is my first this little seed stitch, and it's also my first time ever knitting on double pointed needles as well. So I this is good. So when I eventually graduate to socks, it will it'll be good. So yeah, I think next episode I'll go through my stash and show y'all why I am putting myself on a yarn diet, because I really, as much as there's so much gorgeous yarn out there, I just can't take any. It's just a little bit ridiculous. So what's ahead? I hope to talk about my my favorite podcasts, both knitting and not knitting. Also, my other favorite videos are on YouTube. Maybe some random facts. I think random facts would be a lot of fun. But I would like to ask you all a question. And the question is what my little stash history was about. What is the item that you wore the most this winter? That you made yourself. For me, it was this because it's so warm. But yeah, no, I would love to know what was your little buddy this winter. And also, was there something that you intended on knitting for the winter, but it just never ended up happening or did not end up getting finished in time? Because I would also like to know that as well. We all joke around my office that these are the knit mittens I'm making for next season, and I won't mind that. It will be, at least, they will eventually be done. I just don't know when. So until next time, folks, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. This is my first episode, so I know that there's still a ton of kinks to work out, but thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. See you later. Bye.